So welcome everyone to the Co-op Program Essentials Workshop for AC Day 1 for 21 Winter. My name is Rebecca, and I am a co-op student advisor here at Algonquin College. I do encourage you to use the chat box to connect with fellow students, tell us which program you're in. If you learned anything new in program orientation or maybe a fun fact about Algonquin College, you're more than welcome to share that in the chat box as well. You're going to notice as well on the bottom bar of your screen, you'll have a Q&A tab as well. If you have any questions related to this session, general co-op questions as well, feel free to type that in there and we're going to do our best to answer your questions while you're in this session. We will also have some time at the very end of this presentation to take live questions. So you can unmute yourself, raise your hand and pose the question live. But if there are no questions before we move on, we're going to start our webinar. So joining me today are my colleagues Ashoka Patel and Sarah Brown Bennett. We are all co-op student advisors working for cooperative education. We are actually designated to specific programs. So if you're in computer programmer or if you're in office administration, there are over 40 academic programs here at the college that have a co-op component, and you have a designated student advisor that's attached to that program. And they do see you through the various stages of your preparation, job search, as well as your work term. And it's someone that you can actually connect with via email. We can do Zoom meetings as well, and we coach you through the various steps of your co-op journey. I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to post the link to our website that you can search your program and see which co-op student advisor is connected to that program. We also have a few students joining us today. They're actually in various stages of their co-op experience. Some have already completed a work term. Some are just starting their work term this winter semester. I will let each one of those students introduce themselves as we go through the slides and then talk a bit more about their experience as well and to share some tips and tricks with you today. So I'm going to launch the poll. I'm just going to have to get everyone's participation. So we're going to launch a poll that is going to ask you which co-op program are you in for the 21 winter semester. So we have the majority of the programs posted on the poll, but we could not fit everyone in. So if your program is not listed, please just click the last option, which is Other, Program Not Listed. This way we can take a look at how many students are in the webinar. And then also if the majority of the group is from, let's say, computer programming, which looks like there's about 40% of you that are in computer programming, we can tailor our responses and add some extra information throughout the slides. So give the poll just a few more seconds as people select their program of study, and then I'll share the results with everyone as well. So you can take a look at the poll and the results. So the majority of our attendees today are in computer programming with about 35%, and then other programs at about 37%. Every intake, so every semester there'll be new programs that start up with a co-op component, but if you're already in a co-op stream, you're more than welcome to stay in the webinar and to learn more about the co-op process. Again, as mentioned, you will have a preparation term, a job search term, and a work term. Some programs do have multiple work terms, and we can talk about how that works as we go through the slides. So now I'm going to call upon my colleague Ashoka to bring us through the next couple of slides.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. So glad to see there's a lot of computer programming. That's actually my program, so it's kind of nice to see there's a lot of students here. I'm going to go over some details regarding co-op and what to expect as you proceed on your journey. One of the biggest pieces, or one of the most common questions we get, is what makes co-op unique at the college versus my high school co-op, my clinical placement, which some students will have. And a clinical placement might be something like you have in nursing, or field placement that you have in social service worker program. So what the main differences is that for co-op at Algonquin College, the duration is 16 weeks. So if you're for your program, if you have one co-op, two co-ops, three co-ops, each semester you're going to have 16 weeks of a co-op. Okay, it is a paid job, which is wonderful. So a lot of our students like that aspect, that all your co-ops are paid. They are full-time, and they are each one is separate. So you may have some, depending on some of the programs, you might have some co-ops that are back-to-back, or they may have different progressions. Now, the one thing that is important to remember is that as you're going through for your high school, it may have been varied. You may not have had that time limit. It may not have been paid for some of your co-ops. It may have been done on a part-time basis, and some of the college programs will have a work integrated learning opportunity, like a field placement that might be part-time, or it might be full-time. And so these are the main differences within an Algonquin College co-op. You're going to have the opportunity to really have that time to build that experience, develop a network of people you will work with, as well as have an opportunity to gain some meaningful learning. Now, additional to that, it's important to remember that all your co-ops will be connected to your program. So whatever skills you're going to learn, whatever skills you learn on the job will be directly connected to your program. Next slide. And Sarah and Rebecca, if there's any questions, if you want me to answer, feel free. Okay, so why do we love co-op? So there are various features why we love co-op. There you go. Perfect. So one of the main, as I noted before, one of the main pieces is that it needs to be connected with your learning from your classes. So the main reason that many of your co-ops are integrated with your learning, meaning you'll do level 2 co-op, level 3, or you might do level 2 co-op, level 3 co-op 2, level 3. But your co-ops are integrated with your learning because we want you to kind of go to work and then learn these skills, then bring them back to the class. So it's an opportunity for you to utilize what you've learned in class and bring it to the workplace. A lot of employers actually look for students to bring that knowledge to their workplace and present new ideas, new ways of doing things. So it is a really great opportunity to kind of take those techniques, those strategies, those technical skills that you've learned in class, and then utilize them in the workplace. As employers look to you to bring those experiences forward. At the end of each co-op, the students are also more employable for a variety of reasons. One is that when you post-graduation, when you're looking for a job, you now have relevant work experience that you can add to your resume. So post-graduation, students are more successful in their job search because they're able to demonstrate these skills that they've utilized in the workplace and bring them to their new employer. Secondly, when you're looking for work, you also have a much more realistic expectation of the workplace, of your experiences, of what skills you need to utilize. And from an employer standpoint, that is incredibly meaningful because now they know when they onboard you post-graduation for your first job, they know that, okay, they have a good idea of what to expect in the workplace. So my training is going to be significantly less. Most importantly, for a lot of employers in our co-op, they utilize co-op as an opportunity to onboard, to hire potential postgraduate employees. As an example, the government uses this as an opportunity to develop those skills to or to develop employees so they can have potential new staff post-graduation. Um, Now, the new thing we started this semester too was our this year was our entrepreneurship co-op as well. And we'll have some students to talk about that. And this is where students have developed the core competencies to bring their own idea, their own business concept to the forefront. So when those students are also looking for work, they'll utilize that experience to demonstrate an employer how they brought a proof of concept from conception to potentially launching it as an idea. So it's a great, these are great skills to bring when you're doing your job search. And that's why co-op makes you more employable. And the main thing, I think we've talked about this as well, is building those partnerships. For a lot of employers, or for a lot of job seekers, networking is critical. When you leave your education, we're all here to secure a job post-graduation. Many of the opportunities that you will seek and that you will secure, many of them will be done through networking or through such resources such as LinkedIn. And what a co-op will allow you to do is to build that network, either within that company, or perhaps those employers may reach out to their own partners, to their contacts to advocate for you to promote it as a position. I will say this, that over the course of my time, I've taken on maybe 12 to 13 students, whether they were field placements or co-op students, and the handful that I've done very well and that have demonstrated their skill set, I've actively promoted for roles and helped to advocate for them to help them secure a postgraduate job. So even as a supervisor in my role, I wanted to see these students succeed because they did such a good job. Finally, for employers, it helps them to hire motivated employees because they get to assess you. So from the employer standpoint, it's a great way to assess potential hires because they get to see what skills you're bringing, how did you perform under pressure, and it helps them to reduce the amount of money they need to pay for onboarding and training because they've already done that. They've already invested in you as a co-op student. So these are some of the benefits of being a co-op student and that you can use to leverage for yourself when you're moving forward to secure your postgraduate career. Now, as we go through, we're going to talk a little bit about the process for co-op. What we've deemed, this is a process that we've kind of set aside because we deemed it to be the best system for students to be successful. Now, those of you that are starting your co-op jobs, your co-op journey, some of you may be beginning it this semester, and some may be beginning it next semester. So if you're unsure about your progression and when you start your job search, feel free to connect with us, or you can even review your information on your for your progression, as that will be noted on your higher AC or through your coordinators. But there are 3 distinct phases for your preparation into co-op. The first one is your preparatory term. Now, this occurs about 12 months before you start your actual co-op job. So the preparatory semester is where you will spend that semester preparing yourself for your job search, which will begin in the next semester. So during your preparatory semester, what you will be doing is that you'll be provided access to a Brightspace shell where you'll have quizzes, online resources, videos, as well as additional tools to help you prepare both your resume and your cover letter and help you prepare for your interview. So the idea is that preparatory semesters, we will spend 4 months and you'll be assigned with either myself, Sarah, Rebecca, or one of our other co-op student advisors to help support you in your preparation for your job search. This is an opportunity for us to work on your resume, make sure it meets the requirements that employers are looking for. It helps us to provide you with information as to what kind of jobs you will be applying to, what does the job market look like, as well as providing one-on-one support either in the class or through meetings to help with any challenges you might be facing in your preparation. The Brightspace course is very well structured and will provide some really good guidance when you're preparing yourself. So that happens like nearly that your journey will begin fairly early. Now your job search semester happens the semester right before you start your work term. Okay, so right before you start your work term for 4 months, you will be starting your job search, and this is where we will post jobs on a system called Hire AC. Now you can access Hire AC through your Access. Okay, and that's the same place that if the employment support team will also post jobs for those who are non-co-op students as well. But on the Hire AC, this is where we will post jobs for you to apply to. Now, on our team, we have 2 to 3 job developers, and their responsibility is to go out and seek those jobs that match the program requirements. And they will post those jobs on Hire AC. Now, the key important things to remember for this is that as you're applying for jobs, that this is still a competitive process. Now, we wanted to take the job market and kind of reflect it as in a kind of a microcosm in Hire AC. Now, when you leave post-graduation, no job is given to you. You need to apply for it. You need to compete for it. We want to prepare you for that. And so what we have here is we created a structure where you can apply for jobs that are directed to you. So they are directed to co-op students. So students are currently that are in school and looking for jobs and require no experience related to the field. And you'll attach your resume and cover letter. Then that resume and cover letter is sent to the employer. The employer will then select the resume and cover letter that matches their job posting and that they feel is the best match for that role. They will then call you in for an interview. And in that interview, you will have the opportunity to demonstrate your skills, to talk about what qualifications you will bring to that job. And they are mainly looking for you to demonstrate your soft skills. So once again, you don't need to have experience in the field. You simply need to demonstrate your initiative, your motivation, and your desire to work in that field. And that is all they're looking for. They're looking for someone who's motivated, hardworking, and who has an interest in the field. So once you've done the interviews, the employers will then decide the candidate that they feel is the best fit. So in this semester, it is really important that you are taking that time to prepare for the interviews, have a good resume and cover letter, because you still need to demonstrate your skills that you can bring to that job. So we always encourage students to provide, to really work hard during the semester or apply to a good number of positions, as well as make sure that they are preparing fully for each interview. Now, for both the preparatory semester and the job search semester, do know that you have co-op student advisors with you the entire way. So we're there to support you in either interview preparation, helping you with your resumes. So during both those semesters, for that 8-month period, we are there to support you. And I encourage you to reach out to us if you need some support. As well, it is important to be motivated during the entire time. So with all my students, I'm very clear that if you work hard, I'll work hard. So it is really important that when you're doing your prep semester and your job semester, that you're working hard to apply to a good number of positions, as well as creating a good resume and conducting a good interview. Finally, the best time, work term. So if you're successful in securing your co-op, you will have an opportunity to start in working at your job. So you will start for the full 4 months. If you were starting this semester, you would start today. on your job, and you'll work for a total of 16 weeks full-time. You will have some assignments you need to complete during this, so it's still an academic credit. So even though you're working and you're getting paid and you're an employee, co-op is still an academic credit. So you still need to complete some assignments during your term. So it'll be you'll need to create some goals and objectives. You'll need to do a little midterm self-evaluation and a final paper, and you'll need to do that for each semester. So it is really important that you are fully engaged throughout the entire process, but in particular for the work term, make sure to do those assignments, because you need to complete those assignments for you to receive a pass or a fail on your work term. So all that to say, at the end of your work term, when you receive that grade for that semester, is only a pass or a fail. So you will not receive a percentage grade or a letter grade. It will simply be a pass or a fail. Are there any questions about that? Because I know that one is the most that's the most complex one. So are there any questions about that?
Ashoka, we have a couple of questions in the Q&A that I think would be beneficial to answer live.
Okay.
So we have a couple of international student questions regarding work visas or work permits, and then common challenges that international students face.
Oh, great. Okay. So a couple questions. So let's start off with the work permit. So for all of you, for international students that are doing your work permit, the couple of things you need to be aware of during your prep semester, you will have the ability, we'll send out additional information regarding this, to download a letter from Higher AC to apply for your work permit. So it is really important that when you are applying, when you're in your prep semester, you need to apply for your work permit. Your study permit allows you to work some roles for a certain period of time, but if you want to work in your co-op role, you need to have a work permit. If you are not sure whether you have a work permit, you need to go to the International Education Office, and they can absolutely provide you with information on, yes, you have the appropriate permit, you can do your co-op. But if you're not sure, really important you do that. But it's also really important you apply in your prep semester, because because the work permits take so long to process, if you don't apply for it by the deadline we set out, you will not be able to continue on your job search because you do not have the appropriate permit. So it's really important to do that. Sorry, Rebecca, what was the second half of that question?
That was just, the second half is, what are some of the common challenges that international students face while pursuing a co-op?
Perfect. So the second question, so if for the most common challenges for a lot of students in this field is, one is not applying for the work permit, so make sure to do that. I would say a good portion of students, that's one area that they just don't do on time. So make sure to apply for your work permit as soon as possible. The second area I would have to say is a couple of things. One is work experience. So I will say, I'll be honest, that's one of the biggest barriers for a lot of international students, is that, when they're applying for roles, they don't have the work experience to put on their resume. So whether it's volunteering, whether it's a part-time job, I would encourage you to do that. The second piece is your resume and cover letter. We all come from different parts of the world, and everywhere you go, resumes look different. So the one thing you want to make sure is that your resume kind of lines up with what the current market here is looking for. So, and that we will cover that in detail. The third piece is when it comes to when you're applying for roles, international students, once again, because there are some roles that require a higher security clearance, and thereby citizenship has an impact on whether how quickly those security clearances get processed. For international students, I recommend you apply to a good portion of positions, both private and public. So public being government, private being just private companies like just Deloitte or Curtis Wright or PCL. So apply to a variety of organizations. You want to apply to a good number of organizations to increase your chances. But really do make sure to really have a well thought out resume with lots of applications. The final piece that I would really encourage is you want to make sure that grades are important. Absolutely, you need to make sure you're focusing on your grades. But one of the main aspects employers are looking for are not your technical skills, they're your soft skills. So through your volunteering or your part-time roles, really take those opportunities to develop those soft skills. I know some of our students are really going to talk about this today today about how their soft skills impacted. But I will say that as part of the entrepreneurship co-op, the students had to do a presentation. And it was amazing to see those presentation skills that the students had to utilize to show their company and their idea, and how that soft skill translated or how that soft skill will translate when they look for work, because after post-graduation, they can say, here's how I presented a complex idea so that everyone can understand it. And these are, so soft skills like that are really critical, especially for international students. So focus on your grades, but also focus on those soft skills that you really need to develop. Go ahead. Did I miss anything else?
Nope, that's it from the Q&A session.
Perfect. So there's one question from Kadia that I think is really good. What if you don't get a job in the co-op jobs in the co-op semester? That's a really good question. So Kadia, and for everyone, in your job search semester, if you do not secure a co-op, okay, it's really important that you talk to your co-op student advisor or to discuss what options there are. For some, if you are, depending on the program, it will either impact your ability to move forward in co-op. So if you do not secure a co-op, then you will either be moved to the non-co-op version of the program, or if co-op is mandatory, we will have to have a discussion regarding what your next steps will be. So if you do not secure a co-op, it does change depending on the program, because some programs require you to have a co-op to graduate. You do need to discuss that. But for those that do, for many of the programs though, you would be moved from the co-op version to the non-co-op version. So it's really important that you're applying for jobs, that you are proactive, and that you're engaged. So make sure to be doing that. That prep semester is just key. It is just key. I can definitely encourage you that students that apply to a good percentage of jobs, as well as complete the prep semester, are far more successful, whether international or domestic, on their job search. Okay, great.
Thank you, Ashoka, for covering sort of all about co-op. For the next portion of our workshop today, we are going to get into speaking with the student panelists about their experiences throughout co-op. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow each panelist to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into a Q&A portion with the panelists, and then we will open the floor once again for Q&A from the audience. So to start, Karim, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself, your program, and a little bit about your co-op experience.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Karim Khalifa. I have just finished the second year in Mechanical Engineering and Technology program. My experiences so far, I mean, I've went through a co-op term with Natural Resources Canada as a mechanical engineering technologist, where we're trying to develop new ways to enhance and allocate for the better use of biomass fuel, for example. And currently, I'm working with Ellis Don Corporation, which is a construction company. For the time being, what we're doing is, as a field and mechanical coordinator, I mean, we're trying to we're in the quality assurance phase, in which that you check, you do like the last touch-ups, you check, the work done before you submit it to the company for review. And plus other tests, which for the time being can disclose.
Great, thank you. We will hear from you more in just a moment. Sure. Sandy, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. So my name is Sandy Panchi. I'm in the Office Administrative Program, the executive. So I just joined, it's just my second week at the Canadian Border Service Agency as a senior human resource assistant. So basically what I do is I help prepare for different virtual career events that will be happening closer to March. And so right now I've been tasked with presentations to do and over voices to make and doing some other recruitment tasks that I have to do. So far, the experience has been phenomenal, and I'm learning a lot. And all the skills that I've learned in my office administration program, I am able to utilize and apply them in my field today. So.
Thank you, Sandy, for sharing that. And I really like to hear that you're only in your second week, but you're already using what you learned in the classroom on the job, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Yes.
So we will hear more from you in just a moment.
Thank you.
And then as we move on to the next slide, I should have mentioned before, both Karim and Sandy have participated in our regular co-op stream. So what you may think of when you think of co-op, which is working for an actual employer on the job. The next two students who we're going to get to introduce themselves have participated in our entrepreneurial co-op, which Rebecca and Ashoka each mentioned slightly earlier. So Nader, why don't we get you to introduce yourself and your co-op experience?
Yeah, for sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Nader. I am a mechanical engineering technology student, just like Karim, and I am here to share my experience around co-op. For my first work term, I worked at a small manufacturing company in Canada as a junior project manager. And what I did was work on projects for the military. And for my second work term, I decided to apply to eCo-op, which is the entrepreneurship co-op program. And it was really exciting to join everyone there. What I worked on was my idea. And my idea was to design a three-wheel car. I've been working on that for around a year. And that joining the eco-op program helped me really understand the business side of how to develop an idea and how to pitch it to people. And yeah, that really helped me with my soft skills.
Really great to hear as well. And like Ashoka said, he actually got to participate in hearing the pitches from our eco-op students. So
yep.
Really great experience there. Thank you. Next, if Amarjeet could introduce himself. Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Amarjeet Singh, and I'm a computer programming student currently in my last semester. And the past term, I took the entrepreneurship co-op over the regular co-op because, well, initially I was searching for the regular co-op positions, but because the COVID happened and I was not successful at that time finding a position, my fellow classmates and I chose the entrepreneurship co-op option instead. It's mostly because of its uniqueness as it's entirely different from regular co-op because it's more focused on you developing your business skills or entrepreneurial skills rather than just technical skills. So what we got to develop our own idea, which was an Android application or a platform. So we work as a part of three, and as a team, we developed the application. And at the end, we pitched and presented our idea to the judges. And it was a great experience. It was a great learning experience because unlike the traditional co-op, for me, I learned a lot of time management and researching skills. And a lot of soft skills as well, because my role was more focused on communicating with people and reaching out and researching. So it was a great experience.
That is really great to hear, and from both individuals who did the e-co-op experience, you would have heard them mention the soft skills that they were able to learn from and grow upon, which is great. So you were learning the technical skills in the classroom, soft skills while doing your e-co-op, and now you'll have a well-rounded experience to bring to employers, which is great. So thank you everyone for taking a moment to introduce yourself. We are now going to move into the Q&A part. So we are just going to open the floor. We have, I think, 3 or 4 questions for you. Please, if you have an answer, you can unmute yourself and start speaking. So for the first question I'd like to pose to you guys is, if you could go back in time and restart the co-op process, what is one thing you would do differently now that you know what you know? Karim, I see that you've unmuted yourself. Did you have an answer?
Let's see. I would say it's a bit of a difficult question because it actually ties into the to the assignments that people who do co-op have to do, right? In essence, what these assignments do is try to help you or make you assess not only the job that you're doing, but I suppose what you want out of your career, you know, the skills you want, for example, the experience that you were looking for, and kind of demands you to understand the job even more than whatever the posting is telling. I suppose maybe if I've researched the like the business, I mean the companies more, or the job posting more thoroughly, it may have made things easy for me in that case.
So what I'm hearing is you would have spent a little bit more time researching the positions and the companies that you applied to.
Correct.
Great, thank you for sharing.
I mean, despite the fact that the co-op experience is successful so far.
Awesome, love to hear that. Sandy, would you like to answer?
Yeah, definitely. So, so far, I think the structure of the co-op process has been amazing set up, and I don't think there is anything really differently to do besides when you go on to hire AC for the students. I find that when employers are picking their candidates, having the students look at the status of the process is it helps students feel like less nervous, or instead of contacting your co-op student advisor and bombarding them with emails, and just getting that like status, is it in progress, are they dealing with interviews still, or things like that. And I think that to me was more important, because I know that they're looking at my resume still, or should I just go on to the next, or things like that. So
wow.
Thank you for sharing.
That brings a lot of memories, though.
I'm sorry.
That actually brings a lot of memories. I mean, I bothered Sarah Brown a lot about that.
It's not a bother. That is what we are here for, to help you out. But as Sandy is saying, we use a system called Hire EC. That's where a lot of your job search will be done. And there's functions in there to be able to check up on your status. So as she said, to see if your job application has been sent yet, if an employer's invited you for an interview, or if an employer hasn't invited you for an interview. So just checking up on that status to get a sense of how it's going. Anyone else like to answer this question, or are we safe
if I
to move on?
could add something.
Awesome, yes.
I think if I could go back in time, I would definitely put more effort in my resume and always keep working on it and making improvements. Make sure you look at others' resumes online. Go on LinkedIn, check if someone has already had the position you're applying for. Check if they posted their own resume on LinkedIn, and see where you can compare. And yeah,
Really great advice. Always be updating your resume. The resume you make at the beginning of the prep semester may not be the same resume that you're going to submit to jobs, because you will have had a full semester additional under your belt that you can add new skills and new experiences. So really great advice.
Yeah, Sarah, I would like to add one more point
Of course.
with another's point. So actually, there's this option. I think it's called the employment department. So what I would have done differently would be to reach out to the employment department and have them check your resume, because uh, like what students do is like they are like when they prepare for their prep term to make their resumes, they're provided with guidelines and like they're following the same guidelines. So to stand out a little bit more, I think it's better to get the professionals check your resume, maybe add more buzzwords. And like initially I only did it later when I had accepted my e-co-op position, but they did really help improve my resume a lot.
That is great to hear. So he is speaking about the Employment Support Center, resource on campus available to help you with your resume and cover letter. But additionally, don't hesitate to reach out to your co-op student advisor for some additional support as well. So lots of resources available for you at the college to make sure you are successful. So thank you with this question. I think we can move on to the next one now. So with this one, we are asking, what are some common co-op interview questions that you may have received, and how can a candidate stand out among their peers?
So for me, when I went into, when I did a couple of interviews with the government of Canada, I came across a lot of, can you tell us about yourself? And I think this is the opportunity where students really kind of struggle a lot, because they want you to identify your strengths, your skills, and what you can bring forward to the table. So I recommend to really practice now and research, and to practice to communicate those skills, and to keep looking at those action and those action words that are in resumes and things like that. So when I went into my interview, I had the job description in front of me, and I had a lot of questions that I answered myself on the internet, and then just bulletproofed a lot of them, or bullet pointed a lot of them. That way, so if I came across to one, I was constantly reading it back and forth.
Really great advice. There's practice. Practice, practice, practice those common interview questions. Great. Anyone else have an answer for this one?
I agree with everyone else. I think all the students here should probably write these questions down and prepare for them before the interview. That's what I did, and I was successful doing that. And I would like to also add that if you want to stand out, you can either have excellent grades or excellent projects that you worked on in college. So, for example, I designed a car part for my class and made engineering drawings for it. And I took those drawings to the interview with me. And that's what basically landed me my first job, working at a manufacturing company. It was my project that I did during class. So yeah, really focus on your projects and do your best. And yeah, hope for the best.
Really great point. What you're doing in the classroom is very, very valuable to put on your resume as well. So thank you for sharing that. And with interviews, once again, during your preparation term, we as student advisors can meet with you to do mock interviews, but meeting with your peers as well is a really great way to practice. In an effort, just watching the time, I'm going to suggest we move to the next question. Unless there's something that someone does really want to add.
Okay, so the next question is mine. And I know that COVID and the pandemic, working from home as well as learning from home has been on the forefront of everyone's minds. So for those of you who have a work term
Mhm.
and have experience working remotely, what advice can you give to a student who may need to work from home or remotely during their co-op work term?
So I am kind of currently in this situation. So right now, what I've done is I kind of set myself up for success really in my station, and I have a desk that I clean out every time, and so you want to really make sure that you are set with the schedule from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock or whenever you're working, and to stay with that schedule and your routine and have a notepad beside you and all the resources and devices that you need. But make sure that all the distracting surroundings around you are very limited. So I have my TV that I put right now on CTV News because I'm least interested in it right now. But that's something that I can really, not distract myself with. So thank you.
Well, good point, Sandy. And I'd like to add to it. Well, actually, it's very easy to get distracted when you're all by yourself, at the comfort of your home and working remotely. So it's extremely important to cut down on distractions. And another thing would be to take short breaks away from the screen periodically. Go stretch your body, give your eyes some rest, and hydrate yourself. And it helps to lower the fatigue accumulated by the end of the day. So that helped me a lot.
You both bring up some really great points and ideas to set yourself up for success. You do need a really good workspace. A lot of us have struggled with that as we transitioned into working and learning remotely, but hopefully you have a nice quiet space that you're set up for. And this is a great time to practice as well. So while you're attending classes, you can turn on your cameras as well so you feel comfortable when it's time to have a job interview through a virtual medium. And body breaks are always encouraged. We say that as well in our co-op team. Just going outside to get the mail, walk around the block, or go for a quick run really recharges your battery and then kind of gives you that extra boost throughout the day. Would anyone else like to answer this question before we move on?
Yeah, sure. I would like to add something, and that's that they should make sure that you engage with your professors online in your classes. So always be asking questions online, talking to your classmates or in the chat, because that gets you used to talking with people online. So that when the time comes and you're being interviewed by a company, you are a lot more relaxed than if it's your first time.
That's a great tip. Absolutely. Always think about ways to network. You will need references as well for those of you pursuing a co-op option. So when you're writing your co-op resume, you will need at least 2 professional references. And oftentimes students struggle with finding references. So if you're connecting with your professor via Zoom or maybe asking questions in class, you're starting to build that relationship and they will be able to become a solid reference for you. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, and this is pretty much the next step. So what do you do after today's workshop and with all of the information that you've learned today? We do encourage you to review the Cooperative Education website, specifically the Current Students tab. There's lots of very, very important information regarding important dates, deadlines, as well as different types of forms that may be required to be completed throughout your co-op experience. Make sure you're familiar with the terms and conditions of co-op as well. And then start thinking about how you're going to build up your soft skills, as Sarah mentioned, and then the different types of experiences. Our students had mentioned working on academic projects and how that can land you a co-op position. So think about every opportunity, whether it's group work, taking on a leadership role in class, and how that can build up to a very strong resume. Make sure that you monitor your Algonquin College email account. We do send messages to co-op students via email, and you will get various messages from different departments and your faculty members as well. So it's really important to create a schedule or a habit of checking it early in the morning, maybe a few times throughout the day, so that you don't miss out on any opportunities. Make sure that if you're available on January 13th, that you attend the Career Readiness Workshop. It's a collaborative effort between Co-op and the Employment Support Center. So these are two options that you have for Co-op specific information, as well as general employment support. We will talk about the various resources available here at the college and while you're a student, and how you can start looking at building up your experience and soft skills through various workshops. I'm going to ask Sarah, my colleague, to populate the link to the calendar. So if you're not able to Google search it, you can click on the link and it'll bring you up to the Campus Village website, which is part of the orientation and post-orientation workshops. And you'll see the Career Readiness Workshop slated in for January 13th. And here we're going to take some attendee questions. So for anyone who has a question they'd like to pose live, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and unmute yourself so you can pose a question to the entire panel.
So before we do that, Rebecca, I just want to add one thing. We had a couple questions in the Q&A. So I've had a couple questions about COVID-19. So I just do want to address that because that's a big question, and of course, all top of our minds because we're all doing this. So one of the things to be remembered is that COVID-19 absolutely has had an impact, okay? And it will continue to have an impact for at least the foreseeable future. So a couple of things to keep in mind. COVID-19 has an impact on the number of job postings we receive, how the number of jobs that students secure. So when you're going into your job search, please be prepared to apply to, if you're planning on applying to only 10 jobs, apply to 20. Okay, so it's really important you're a little more invested in your job search just because it is that much more competitive. Secondly, when it comes down to your job search, please know that some jobs are remote. We will highlight that on job postings to say they're remote or they're on site, but that will change. So as right now, we're working remotely, which is great. But once we go back to the office, we may start, more employers might go back from working online to working back in the office. So as we make the transition, and many of you will see this transition as you go through because you're starting today. So as you see the transition, you might do your first call from home, but then be back in the office, at least for some of your work time back in the office. So be prepared, be flexible. Things are going to change and then will continue to change as we move forward. So we will absolutely, as a co-op office, we do our best to inform you of any changes. So check your emails from the president, as he will also provide information regarding to you regarding how your academics will be affected by COVID, but also from us, because we'll provide you some updates. So hopefully, I know that we got a couple questions about that, so I just wanted to address that.
Cool. And when it comes to COVID, generally, I mean, especially if you're working like not from home, like if you're working on the site, for example. I mean, be relaxed, but be vigilant at the same time, right? Mind the places the spots you touch, and especially mind the spots you touch where everybody shares the place. So let's say, for example, kitchen. Like in my case, for example, here in Ellisdon, what I do, every single time I go to the kitchen, I make coffee. After I finish making the coffee, I wipe everything off with alcohol and sanitize my hands. Something like that, you just have to keep in your mind generally. But just like I said, I mean, relax, enjoy your work co-op term. Ask your supervisors, ask everybody, because generally speaking, for co-op, everybody wants to teach you something. So be sure that you show that positive attitude, that initiative, and do your 100%, no, 110% actually. All right.
Great feedback, Kareem. Great feedback.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Oh, we got a raised hand by Joshua.
Yeah,
Hi there.
sure.
So I was just wondering, does Algonquin College cooperate with the FSWEP Federal Student Program?
So those are two different things, Joshua. So that's a good question. So when it comes down to when you're working in the federal government, you're either a co-op student or you're an FSWEP student. Now, what a lot of departments will do is that they will place a code, they'll draw from both pools. So say you're a successful candidate, and they'll say, Joshua, we're going to pick you on for a position. For your co-op, while you're a co-op student, you're registered, we're going to draw from our co-op pool of dollars and we're going to pay your salary from that. But when you're in classes, we're going to offer you a part-time FSWEP. And what that means, we'll drop from the FSWEP pool to pay for that salary. So large departments will usually use both types of contracts to kind of extend your placement. So a lot of students will do their full-time co-op and they'll draw from that co-op pool, and the governments will then transfer you into an FSWEP. So if you apply for an FSWEP on your own, though, that's absolutely go for it. But it is different. So an FSWEP contract and a co-op contract are two different things.
Two entirely different things, yeah. Because right now I'm currently a contractor with Shared Services Canada,
Yep,
and
great.
they just wanted to see whether or not there were any ways I could kind of do my co-op through them with you guys.
So that's absolutely a possibility, of course. So if you're currently working somewhere and it's related to your program and you want to convert that to a co-op, you absolutely can.
And
So
do you guys use any previous experience as well, or does it have to be like the kind of, future experience or present experience?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Would previous experience, say like working several years in IT, something like that, does that contribute any towards your co-op options in terms of which positions you would be applying for?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't translate to which positions you apply to, but if you highlight that on your resume and you have a couple of years experience, of course, that's a benefit, right? Like, so if an employer sees that you have experience in the field and you can put that on your resume, this is a competitive process. So they will look at that and they'll say, great, that's really related, that helps. So it absolutely is helpful to have that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great, thanks, Joshua. There was another raised hand too there. Okay, I'm gonna assume that was it. Is there any other questions that we can answer? Oh, Kazi, I'm just gonna say this live since we're live anyways. I have prior experience in a different field, so I'm staying, because that's a really good question. So if you have prior experience to something then that's unrelated, it's really important to remember that employers at this point, it's a co-op role, okay? So they know that you don't have experience in the field. In fact, they're not looking for you to have experience in the field. If you have any other past experience, that is absolutely critical, mainly because they can see that no matter what job you worked at. So if I'm applying to Shared Services Canada and I worked at Starbucks, if I say I worked at Starbucks for 6 months or a year, they're going to be able to say, great, Ashoka, I know, he's got he knows how to keep a schedule, deal with lots of orders, good interpersonal skills, works well with the team, lots of relevant skills there. So absolutely, any past experience you have, you absolutely can highlight there. Okay. Any other questions?
I think we have another student who just raised their hand, and I just unmuted Rajan.
Rajan put it in the chat, looks like. Rajan, did you put your question in the chat? Okay. But can I switch to the code version of the computer program? Okay. So good question. If you want to do your switch, the one thing with the co-op, if you're in a non-co-op version of a program, the important thing to remember, unfortunately, is that there are very limited seats. So if seats do become available, if a spot comes available in the next 10 days for day 10, then you'll be notified by the registrar's office. After that, if the seats do become available, the co-op office will send out an email outlining how you can apply for those seats. If multiple students apply to a few seats, then we will make the selection of the successful students by GPA. So it's really important that you're focusing on your GPA as well if you like to go into the from the non-co-op version to the co-op version. But please know it is competitive and there are very few seats. So do keep that in mind. But if you don't, if you don't get a co-op version, there's still the Employment Support Center. Please go visit them. They are exceptional. And they also post jobs as well. So they're a really great team. I really encourage you to go visit them.
There's one more question in the chat that I don't know if it was seen, but someone's asking, can we add past experience even if it's not from Canada? And I think that's a really great question. Absolutely. If you have any experience in Canada, abroad, from your home country, employers do want to see it. So it's not only Canadian experience or Canadian education that matters. Anything that you've done that contributes to the skills you have and that the skills you'll apply on the job are very valuable to employers. So yes, international experience is very welcome and valuable on your resume.
Joshua, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just was wondering in the co-op program, do you guys ever include IT certifications like ITIL or any of these other like Google certifications and stuff like that? Or is that just something we would have to do on our own?
Like, are you asking if we offer the training or if you can
It's
include
part
it?
of the co-op program. If you guys include any of these IT certifications that can be found online as part of, you know, our like I'm in computer engineering, for example, if any of those certifications would be included throughout the program.
Some of those may be included in your classes. But anything related to the academic, so those certifications would be considered academic. We would have no control over that. So whether you're a co-op student or not a co-op student, if that was offered to you, it would be offered to you on the academic side. So it's possible you have the opportunity to do those certifications, but I think this question would be better addressed to your program coordinator or some of your professors.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Duffy, do you have a question as well?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, for the time. I just wonder what the difference between the co-op and field placement or work placement.
So that was one of the first slides we went over. So if you remember, like for the work placements, which program, like depending on the program you're in, if you take a look at a field placement could be an opportunity where it could be varied, it could be 1 week, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, depending on the program. Could be part-time, so you could be in classes as well as going to your field placement. So a field placement is a little bit different in that the timeline is a little more varied. Whether you're full-time or part-time is varied. Once again, still related to the program. Now for co-op, you're looking at a role that's going to be, it's always 16 weeks, it's paid, full-time hours, and related to your program. So that is consistent throughout each of your semesters that those 4 criteria are met.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
So we have one more question for students that job search that start their studies in the winter, you recommend we search for a co-op job right now. You know what? It's always a good idea to start your co-op job search whenever you can. If you're starting a program now, you start your prep in September, next semester. So in the summer, you're starting your prep semester. You can search then. But yeah, it's always encouraged for you to start job searching now if you want. Good practice, again, networking. Maybe you can work part-time and then convert that role into a full-time co-op. So yeah, absolutely, it's always encouraged. And I've had a couple of questions, but age is not a factor. So I will be honest that students, both mature and young, do well in co-op. The only thing I would recommend is that when you're a more mature student with some work experience or life experience behind you, how you present those skills, how you present yourself in an interview might be a little bit different. And we actually talk about that in your interview and resume workshop on maybe some of the factors that may affect that. So no, not at all. Age is not an issue. Whether you have much life experience like myself, who's getting on the older side, or you're just brand new, you're going to be, you'll do just fine.
You're not alone. I'm there too.
Yeah, Prima may have a few years on you.
We all do.
Sorry? Yeah, no,
Just saying we all do.
Yeah.
Life is not always a straight line.
Indeed,
Exactly.
Indeed. Like just like I said, man, realize that, okay, they know that your employers realize that, you're new. You sure you're bringing skills and experience, but they put in their minds that they want to teach you, they want to invest time in you. So always show the positive attitude, show the willingness to learn, have initiative. Like, for example, let's say your supervisor gave you a task, you finished it, ask for the next one. Always, right?
That's exactly right.
And ask questions and learn more, because trust me. And when your supervisor asks you for a task, always outdo yourself every now and then, if not always. Because trust me, at the end of it, sometimes this could contribute to a career in the company or somewhere else. Just like Ashika actually highlighted earlier. I mean, if you simply impress them and blow their mind, maybe later on after you graduate, they will take you in as an employee. Right? You have guaranteed the secured the job opportunity right there, just by doing that. You never know.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Always keep on the positive side and work hard. I mean, it pays in the end. It does.
That's exactly right. And just before I go, I know Sandy's got to leave. I want to thank all our panelists for all the information. I know we'll answer the rest of the question, but I do want to say that Sandy, I know you have work, so thank you, Kareem, Nader, Amarjeet. I will say this, that these are our best students, right? And so, but these are students that have demonstrated that, if you work hard and put a lot of effort into your job search or in your entrepreneurship co-op, you absolutely can be successful. And I myself got the opportunity to see Nader and Amarjeet's presentations, and they were excellent for e-co-op. So, they have a bright future ahead of them. And I think for Kareem and Sandy, who really demonstrated their performance on the job, these are students that you can absolutely don't hesitate to reach out to students who've done their co-op to get information like Kareem and Sandy and Nader and Amarjeet are sharing. You're not alone in this. So you have us and you have these students as well that are here to provide you with support.
Thank you so much again, guys, for having me. And like you guys said, reach out if you have any questions. And I am always free for those questions. And currently I am on the job. So it was a pleasure being here and being a support to you guys. And wish best luck to all of you guys, and stay safe. Alrighty.
Sandy, thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye, Sandy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I would be more than happy to help anyone that has any questions or concerns. If you want to contact me, I have a LinkedIn profile. Just type in Nader Asi and you'll find me there. Add me, and if you have any questions, I'll help you for sure.
Thank you, Nader.
Welcome.
Okay, so I think we're about 15 minutes over. So I think we'll call it for a day. I do want to thank everyone here. I would like to thank all the students who participated. Thank you so much. Your insights always more meaningful. I'll be honest than they come from us. It always means so much more to students to hear another fellow students say that. Big thank you to Sarah and Rebecca, who this presentation would not have happened without both them with their hard work. So this would not have happened without them. So big thank you to Rebecca and Sarah for all the work they've done on this. And to all of you, good luck. Thank you for participating. You're in for a wonderful journey. This will be a lot of fun. Enjoy it, take your time. If you have any questions, you know where to find us on the co-op website. So we'll end this here we'll stay on for another 5 minutes as people leave and answer any questions that may come up. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Very much.
Thanks, Dream.
Yeah,
No
thanks.
problem. Anytime.
Bye, Nada. Looking forward to your car.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me. It was a great experience. And if anyone has any question regarding, like if it's related to international students or, computer programming or e-co-op, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. You can search Amarjeet Singh Algonquin College and I'll be there to help you out. So yeah, thank you very much again. Have a great rest of the day.
You too, Amarjeet. Thank you.